Super. Welcome everybody to our next episode of Heresy Hammer. We have got in our chairs today 3 people who know absolutely nothing about salamanders. We've got Lee, we have got John, and we've got myself, Rob, as well. Without further ado, let's go straight to our sponsors. So our show is kindly sponsored by Cryptic Cabin, who are a local gaming store, and you can get all sorts of your hobby goodness there. We've put the link in the comments below. Of course, my painting studio as well. Don't forget as well, if you are in the UK, I've got 2 courses coming up. The one in March is battle damage and weathering. So if you're interested in that, I'll put the links in the comments below as well. We've got even more sponsors of the show now as well, haven't we, Lee? So we've got Bitsmonster, and they can be found at www.bitsmonster.com, and those guys sell all sorts of things. So not only do they sell full kits, but they also sell kind of bits along with those kits as well. So if you're looking for sergeant helmets with plumes, then go across to those guys. They're expanding their heresy range, and if you use the code heresyhammer, all in capitals, you can get 10% off whatever you purchase there as well. Let's have a look at the next person, or the next business. So Dan from over at Gator 3D Printing also supports our show as well. He does wonderful prints, really good quality prints. I've used him a number of times. Give him a follow and give him a message if you need something printing. He doesn't necessarily have a website, but if you got the STL, or he might well have the STL, he will be able to print it to you, and it's always of a superb quality. And someone new is Beowulf Miniatures Printing. So Beowulf, I've got a number of things that have been printed by them. Most of my Sons of Horus bits and heads and upgrade bits have been printed by these guys. They're absolutely fantastic. If you want something printed, you can go over to their website, but you can also drop them a DM as well, and they'll be able to sort some stuff out to you. So I think the website is a work in progress. They're constantly updating it. It's just gone live relatively recently, but there's loads of stuff on there. And I've got some, in fact, he sent me over some Recon Marine sniper rifles, some shields, some cool kind of boarding shields, and some different arms for the Mark 6 as well, kind of like some throwing grenades and doing things like that. So really worth tapping him up if you want some 3D printed parts as well.
If you fancy just sending me stuff, just reach out to me on Instagram.
I'm sure that they will. And the main show this week is all about salamanders.
We good luck with making this one interesting, Rob.
We will give them some love this week after we've bashed them enormously over the past episodes. But we will talk more about the salamanders a little bit later. As for now, though, let's get on to our rules corrections. Right, Lee, do you want to talk us through this one? Because this one came up in the last show, right, when we were looking at Ollie's kind of orbital assault list, and a really interesting point was made by somebody who watched the show, something that we hadn't considered. But yeah, do you want to tell us a bit more about it?
So we could have done an entire show on our rules corrections, to be honest, especially with poor Ollie's list. I mean, we kind of fucking murdered it, really. But one of the big ones, and it's something that I don't think any of us picked up on. So in the Angel's Wrath Right of War, with the big red box around it, it states any unit in a detachment using this right of war eligible to take a Legion Rhino transport as a dedicated transport may instead take a Legion Storm Eagle gunship as a dedicated transport. So we were obviously telling him, max out your squads to 20 to fit into the Storm Eagles. But then if you look at the Legion Tactical Squad, it states a unit of no more than 10 models may take a Legion Rhino transport as a dedicated transport. So obviously what he was saying, and several other people were saying, is if you take over 10 models in a tac squad, it no longer has a Rhino as a dedicated transport. Ergo, you then can't take a Storm Eagle as a dedicated transport. So my personal thoughts on it is, if you're playing someone who's using Angel's Wrath and you don't allow them to take more than 10 people in that Storm Eagle, just throw yourself off the nearest tallest building because fuck me, they're running Storm Eagles. You're going to shoot it off the first turn anyways. Like,
I am 100% Team Lee here.
Yeah. Does it feel like an oversight to you, John? This?
Yeah, without fucking shadow of a doubt. I mean, the thing's got like what 22, 24 capacity, 26 capacity. It's massive, and it's shit. Like, I mean, fucking hell. Cut him some slack. I must admit, I have reached out to Ollie to apologise because I did watch the last episode back, and I think I was more confused by the end of that list review than I was at the start.
Yeah.
I think that we tried valiantly to polish a turd, and it was just
what we ended up doing was just rolling it in glitter.
Yes, exactly right. I mean, it looks like a wonderful army, but we just couldn't rescue it in the Angels Wrath Right of War, really, or with that many flyers. And if you want our thoughts, further thoughts on flyers, apart from they're just fucking shit, you can go check over at our flyers videos over on the Patreon as well for a £3 a month, absolute bargain.
Right, I think this is a case of this needs a fact, doesn't it? This is rules as written, rules as intended. I think they just need to fact this because it's fucking nonsense.
Yeah, it's a complete.
What does it talk about in the Panoptica? Anybody know?
Oh, I don't know.
Anybody care? Right, me
no. What is that? I don't know what that is. Is that some community rules? Is it?
Yes.
Yeah, don't worry about that. Cool. Next one. I jest, of course. I jest. Right, we have our hashtag heresy hammer, and it was my turn to pick out a few. I think I picked 8 or 9, didn't I, Lee, in total? It was very difficult, but I think I picked some which we hadn't seen before from people we hadn't seen, but maybe a couple that we have seen as well. So the first person is Red Eagle Studio. So I've seen them do some amazing work, particularly with World Eaters, but he's currently working on a fantastic Blood Angels army at the moment, and it looks great. And this is the standard, very kind of like heavy metal style. But nonetheless, it looks absolutely great, just painted to perfection. And I absolutely love it. How about, John, why don't you talk us through this amazing Imperial Fist character? What are your thoughts on this?
I'm trying to work out where the bits are from. Is it mostly from Prince, do we think?
So I think this might be a Stern Guard veteran head. I think.
Yeah, I'm just trying to work out the legs are. I think it might be quite a lot of bits from Stern Guard veterans, if I'm being honest with you. I'm just trying to work out where those legs are from. They feel kind of.
Are they Tortuga legs or are they Death Guard? Death Guard.
Tortuga. I don't think they're Death Guard, are they? Because the knee pads don't look like a Death Guard.
No. Well, Hell's Slager will need to let us know what bits are in the comments below.
Well, it's really cool though. It's very, very, very stoic and Imperial Fisty, and the yellow's really nice. It's like really, really nicely kind of weathered, and there's some good. Like, it's very obvious, but also very grimdark at the same time. It's cool. Like it. It's good hue of yellow, not too much sort of detail to detract from it, and again, kind of quite dark and muted, but with like quite a light coloured flesh on the head to sort of draw your attention to it. I think it's very well executed, this one.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Yeah, it's great. Let's have a look at the next ones, please, Lee. So we've got Bane of Chaos. He's been posting loads of Heresy of late. He's been doing nice. I saw him do some Night Wars today, but he has got Horus Ascended, the first community Horus Ascended that I've seen. Lee, do you want to talk us through this one?
So I was looking at this when I was putting the PowerPoint together, and I mean, obviously, Horus himself is I mean, he's done an absolutely amazing job. This is, top tier painting, but I just can't detract from that base. Like, I just can't stand that base. I feel like the base detracts from the actual model. Like, my eyes just keep going to the pile of skeleton bones rather than actually looking at the model, if you know what I mean. So, I mean, like I say, absolutely fucking amazing, but I would really like to see this model on a different base.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Absolutely concur. So I have this model, and the first things first, it is absolutely fucking enormous. Like, think about all of the comparisons you've seen size-wise of this guy all over the place. Nothing really prepares you for just how big he is in the wild. Like his legs are as big as Perturabo. His legs come up to like Perturabo's like.
Oh my gosh! Oh wow!
Fucking huge. And yeah, totally agree with Lee about the base. Like he's painted like Dave's a really, really good painter. He's got a very distinct style. I think he's been taking lessons with Miles from Little Legend for quite a while, and you can really sort of tell where those kind of influences are in the paint job. Really good, like just a fantastic miniature. But yeah, I think the base is just.
I just find it too much.
It's really busy, right?
Yeah.
So the base that I might consider putting on is the the Reaver head that the new Imperial Guard Solar Marshal is on, because he's trotting on top of a Reaver type down head, and I wonder whether that might be a cool alternative head, because I think it's probably about the same size as that base there. What I haven't seen is, and John, you'll know this, is that a scenic base that he's on, or is it gaming base?
Yeah, no, it is a scenic base. Yeah, there's no slaughter in the middle. So
that's just the whole base that you supposed to move around.
Give me a minute.
Holy fuck, that's nuts.
It's massive. Yeah. Like, give me two. First things first, I'm considering putting him on Perturabo scenic base to have it spare, and that way he'll be about 400 feet tall. He'll be
yes.
Talk amongst yourself.
Draw a line of sight on that guy. Right. Well, while you do that, we'll get Lee to talk about Monkey Raffles Night Lord's Dreadnought.
So I really like this. I wasn't sure of the color scheme at first, but I think it is just the photograph and my 15-year-old monitor that it looked almost green, but then when I actually started looking at it obviously isn't. The bits I really like about this is he's done a really good job with the red glow, the red glow behind the helmet. Fucking amazing.
You don't see that a lot, and I think the red glow in the melter is.
And that's exactly what I was going to say. The red glow in the melter barrel, because everyone just paints barrels fucking black. The whole just gets painted black, doesn't it? And he's actually gone through the effort of actually making it look like it's been shooting, and it's got that kind of afterglow, which I mean he's done a really good job with. So yeah, just a fucking awesome piece. But again, it's not busy. There's not a lot going on. It's obviously the Death Guard's Contemptor. But yeah, just an absolutely bang up job. Like
done an awesome job. Yeah, he's done a brilliant job. It looks absolutely awesome. Right, have you got the base there?
Yeah, update. Just ignore everything I've been saying.
Okay.
Move on.
He does. He comes with a scenic base, does he? Or he comes with a slot base. Cool. Well, we'll go to you, John, for this one. So this is Jodie's.
Jodie's
marvelous dreadnoughts, and I think they've been converted a little bit actually. But what's your thoughts on these?
I think they're really cool. The white one is excellent.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I remember telling Jodie this, but his blue is really good, and I think he went through a period of photographing it really badly because it looked super flat in photos, and then you'd see it in the flesh, and you'd be like, "Oh wow, there's loads and loads of tonal variations which you cannot see anywhere."
Yeah.
I don't know if these have been painted at the same time. I think the one on the left is incredibly striking. I think the white is absolutely, like, the inversion of the colours is. I like seeing a bit of colour inversion anyway. If I'm being honest with you, I think it's a really nice way of adding a bit of kind of character to stuff like this. Yeah, I think it's wicked. But yeah, the blue, like I said, not sure if it doesn't photograph that well or what's happened, but like in the flesh, it's even better. So awesome. Yeah, super keen on these.
I don't know where that front of, so on the left hand dread, these Ultramarine specific one, he's got like a grill in the front of his helmet, and I don't know where that's from because that's not on the original model, but it looks really cool. It looks ace. I assume it's from the box dread, maybe. So maybe Jodie can let us know and tell us, because that's a really good addition.
Why? Do you think it's the HQ Dread Boy from a few of the Ancients list?
Yeah, it should be. It might be also that named Dreadnought as well, right? Because he comes with a Kiri's assault cannon.
Oh, he does. Yeah.
Telemachus or Macros.
Telemachron. Yeah, Telemachron. Yeah. Honor Telemachron. The good one.
Yeah. Yeah, awesome. Okay, cool. Well done, James.
Spoiler alert, more on him later.
Let's have a look at the next one. So, Matt has been doing some absolutely awesome Raven Guard, and you'll notice with these Raven Guard, they're rather traitorous because they've got Sons of Horus iconography all over them as well. So he's done a really interesting black with lots of different like colors in it, looks like lots of purples and things like that. But yeah, very traitorous and really cool use of the Sons of Horus kind of iconography. And when we did our Loyalist Legion, kind of which legion to choose, Lee had these guys, and they took in. He was talking about their connection with the Sons of Horus and their early work in the Sons of Horus and warfare with them. So I think that's a really cool nod to that. What do you think, Lee, of these?
If you don't follow Matt, go and take a look at his stuff because he's done this and he's done some of the oh god, I can't think what they're called now. The jetpack dudes, the Fury, Dark Fury,
the Dark Furies, yeah.
And they look absolutely fucking awesome. And like, just I didn't know what to imagine Traitor Raven Guard to look like, but they're exactly what they should look like. And this dude as well. Like, he's just done a really good job of making them look ferocious.
Yeah, that's pretty good. The claw, I don't know where the claws are from either.
They're 3D print.
But I also really like the key. So he's got like feathers, obviously, with the key. But I wonder if that's a nod to like the prison keys that they used to have on Deliverance or wherever it was that they were kept. But yeah, really cool. Loads of subtle details there.
Even just throwing in the Sons of Horus symbols, like you say, showing that kind of closeness between the two legions when they first started.
Yeah,
those claws, are they not off the Ursarax lightning claws?
I don't know. They feel too big for that, but you might be absolutely right. I don't know. Maybe Matt can tell us in the comments below because for Raven God. And John, talk us through this Mech Outpost Odessa binary.
It's wicked, isn't it? Move on. I think great use of transfer placement. I think filling in the like grenade harness elements to give you that space for a big transfer really suits some legions. I think this is absolutely one of them. I've not done it on my Iron Warriors one just because I've just taped over it and striped it. But I will definitely be filling them in on the Leviathan for the Sons of Horus.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see how easy it is to do with a plastic dreadnought to fit it in over.
I reckon it's going to be really straightforward because I will tell you because I have done half of one.
Oh, okay.
And it is
got it nice and smooth. Like,
oh yeah. Just I used many parts of the green stuff and just sanded it back, and it's really good.
And that was fine. That like sanding the plastic as well.
Yep. Seems all very good. Just literally for the end of it, you like a little tiny bit of wet and dry. It all seems wonderful. I'll post some pictures up in the Heresy Hammer Lodge on Facebook later.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, that's good.
The green is wicked. Really like the green. I like that kind of the sort of yellowy kind of sort of mustard color that I think he's used as the sort of highlight color.
This
really
like this. It's really cool.
I've seen this recently, and I've seen what's his name? Paul's Death Guard recently.
Yeah.
They're really good. Rob, you've done some great Death Guard with for your army painter tutorials recently and your MiG weathering tutorials recently. They're really shit hot. We've got Calaman Mutual Friends and some shit. There's a lot of good Death Guard kicking around, and I'm super excited because I get to paint a Death Guard for our Patreon competition winner.
Yes.
So I'm going to have a huge amount of fun. So I've got a lot of good inspiration to work from, and I'm very excited to get going with it. It's really good. This is excellent.
Top notch. Right, let's have a look at the next one. Is there another one after this, or is it?
Is this the last? Oh yeah.
Two more. So we've got the Johnsonator. So the Johnsonator has a range of different legions, I think, but I just picked his Emperor's Children. A really lovely purple. There's all sorts of ways that you can go with purple. You can make it lilac coloured. You can make it magenta. You can even go with a really bright pink if it's a bit more traitorous. But he's done an absolutely fantastic job. I really like the use of the cacophony body, along with some kind of just normal apothecary upgrades here. I think there's a really cool, simple conversion, but absolutely looks brilliant. And then Lee, why don't you talk us through T minority dreadnought for us?
So I think the thing I like the most about this Dark Angel dreadnought is it's black. And I know that kind of sounds obvious, but most kind of Dark Angels you see, people either use greys or blues and, you know, get some real kind of light kind of highlights, whereas this is literally, I mean, it kind of looks just black and then edge highlighting, which I think Dark Angels works really well. Like, I think it looks really good. And like I say, it's kind of something, it sounds obvious, but you don't see it a huge amount. So I really like this. I mean, I love Dark Angels anyways, but yeah, he's done a bang up job.
Yeah, I like the checkered pattern over the line. Right, yeah, I think that was really
and that's
good.
been hand painted as well, hasn't it? I thought it was a transfer at first. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's fucking awesome, isn't it?
Yeah, awesome. Right, let's have a look at. I don't think we've got any more. I think this is up. We've got Heresy Thursday. So it's been treat after treat, hasn't it? But these are all things that we've seen in that little snap New Year's teaser trailer, and we knew that these were coming. I'd put money that they were Mark 4, but they turn out to be Mark 6, and they are available on kind of pre-orders for next week. Right? Will you guys be buying any of these?
Not straight away, but only because I've already got a big enough pile of shame that I'm just not going to get to build any within the next 2 years. But I will definitely pick some of these up at some point. I mean, plastic jet bikes is the dream, isn't it? I mean, fucking hell, we've seen the price, have we? £37.50, was it? Something like that. I think they've leaked. So
you're going to be about 30 quid from, you know, your cryptic cabins.
I mean, that would buy you what? One resin jet bike?
Yeah.
I think you might get 1 1/3.
Oh, is it? So
Half,
you know,
maybe.
Like accessibility wise.
Yeah, it's absolutely awesome. John, are you going to grab any of these? Is this a priority for you to get?
Not a priority, but I will be grabbing. I don't know if I discussed it with you guys. I have a terrifying backlog of stuff to get through over the next few months. So, but I do.
You're a compulsive. If people don't know, you're a compulsive purchaser of things on Heresy Trading.
Oh my god, I literally cannot help myself.
It's like the Del Boy of Heresy.
Buys. I can't help myself. I may or may not have bought at least 2 armies this week. Actually, hold on. When does the week run from? Yeah, it might have been 3. But for my Sons of Horus, I can definitely see a jet bike Praetor and command squad in the offing. I think Ian has sent me down the rabbit hole of characters on jet bikes. And then after seeing Lee's Iron Warriors list with the Siege Breaker on jet bike.
That was really cool.
I've got a bit hot under the collar for characters on jet
I think for 30 quid, considering these would have cost like 90 quid or 70 quid or whatever to
nearly
get
80 quid.
The fact is 30, I think they're really cool modeling opportunity. And unlike some other things where I'm just like, I don't think you really buy these. I think that these just, even for a 3, just with multi-melters, could be useful in your army and also be quite a cool, just a cool little project. I mean, they're quite interesting. You know, they've done an amazing paint job on these, but like with the brasses, the silvers, and things like that. I just think as a really cool modeling opportunity, it's good. We haven't seen a whole lot beyond these models, so I'm interested to see like the upgrade sprue for them, because you can see a Volkite pistol in plastic, right? And I don't think we've seen a Volkite pistol in plastic, and which is really, really interesting. And the guy on the bottom left has obviously got a power weapon in his hand, and we haven't really got any combat arms yet for the Mark 6. So I think, I personally think, 2 boxes of these for about 60 quid, make one into a Praetor, and then a 5-man command squad. All on jet bikes, I think is hot stuff. Personally. It'd be a great project to do over a month or 2.
You're doing really nicely. Use some of the other kind of the upgrade sprues and kits and bits and bobs, and really go to town with them. I think these are really good.
This
These
is
are
a
gonna be great.
this is a winner. This gets the Heresy Hammer seal of approval. These ones.
Robbie,
Absolutely,
any out?
100%.
Are you picking out, Rob?
Let's have a look at the next one. Oh yeah. So I've got after our allies detachment episode, I'm going full steam ahead with it, and I'm going to buy 5 of these, but I'm going to make one a Praetor, I guess, and then just a 5-man multi-melter squad for some White Scars. That's what I'm going to do.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Nice.
So we got these upgrades. We won't linger on them. The shoulder pads are the shoulder pads. The helmets, I think, are just, yeah. I mean, if you want to upgrade them,
really good. I actually really like these.
Shut up.
I think the eyes are more menacing.
The bearhead is awesome, but the chiseled cheekbones are quite something. But I think these were a bit of a letdown, actually. I think from what we've seen before, I think, a bit disappointed. I think the OG Forge World ones were just better. They should have just redone those ones.
I think that bare head would be good for a Night Lord's.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lord's character.
Absolutely. Yeah.
When you're doing a Scrivok, there's his head.
Yeah. I think that's a better Sevatar head, that one, than the
Actually, right, he's a better Sevatar head.
Sevatar.
Scrivok is more Weasley than this. Absolute Chad.
Anybody want to say anything else about these?
I really like them. I think the eye lenses are more menacing, and I like the fact that they're super pointy.
I don't dislike them. I just find them a little bit pointless. I think on a tabletop, you're just not going to notice those eye lenses.
Yeah.
And you're spending, what is it, like 14 quid for a load of helmets that you're probably
16.50, I think.
Is it or something you're not really going to notice? But you know, yeah, they are what they are, aren't they?
Nah, you're paying $16.50 for the bear head, basically.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's have a look at the next one because Lee called it. No, not this one. I thought it was the next one.
Well,
so we saw this one in the kind of the New Year's what's to come. We knew it was coming. It was obvious it was Cerberus, and it looks even better in the official photo. The paint job is fucking amazing, and it just looks fucking brutal. It's like Brutal 10, mate. It looks fucking amazing. John, what's your take? Your hot take on the Cerberus? Because it's slightly different, isn't it, from the one we have from Forge World?
I think it is more. I think it's super fucking menacing. In fact, I don't feel like the gun barrels protrude quite so far on the Forge World ones that doing this.
I wonder if it's because it's got like a housing around it that the Forge World one didn't have. I wonder if that
like
is giving it the appearance.
This is cool. I think when I come to redoing my Iron Warriors, spoiler alert, I think I would definitely be considering. I've never used super heavy or a Lord of War in any of the games I've played so far. Not even Perturabo. And I have plans to kind of redo part of my Iron Warriors army, and I can see a Cerberus in the offing. But I said the same thing about Typhon as well.
Yeah, this is the trouble though, isn't it?
Cool.
We've almost got. We're almost getting to the point where we've got too many choices. You know what I mean?
How annoying!
It's a great place to be, isn't it? But I can't make my mind up between this and a Typhon, to be honest. Like,
but we haven't seen a price for this yet, no? This hasn't officially dropped yet.
No, that is true. Lee is sounding more millennial by the day, though. Just like too many lovely things. It's just...
So a absolutely beautiful looking tank, a great centerpiece for any force you're going to have. Right, Lee, the next one. So you called this. I didn't think it would be this.
Yeah,
I would not have put money on it being this particular model, but an actual like I thought it would be a Tracer Librarian, an Esoterist, like the Centurion that you barely see from anybody has now got an official model. Not a Chaplain, not a Librarian. The Esoterist has got a model, and I think it's an awesome looking model. I think the helmeted option is my favorite one, actually. I think it is the helmeted.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But it comes with a psychic hood, and if you watch mine and Lee's Patreon video, you know how good a psychic hood is. And it comes with a particularly traitorous kind of looking staff to wield unholy powers. What's your hot take on it, John?
I cannot believe how many channels this must have got to, and not a single person said. Everyone is just going to comment on the fact he's fingering an air pussy. Not a single person went. You do realize that this is exactly what's going. I mean, perhaps it's actually an incredible piece of guerrilla marketing from the design department, because all you've seen is memes. I just can't think
like a smell my finger kind of
like
come smell your mum.
That was the one I saw.
I think the entire time that I end up, if I end up ever painting one of these, the entire time that I'm painting that hand, I'm just going to feel a bit like this is why people
where's it been
weird neck beards. But this is it. This is not like a nerdy geeky hobby, I promise. Apart from this guy who is just doing this.
If you could replace that hand or put some fire in that hand, I think then it would look
or a sort of thing. But I think
so. Apart from the finger blasting hand, apart from that bit, happy with the model? Happy with the way it's come out?
Yeah, I think it's librarian. Isn't it? It's going to be everything.
It's librarian.
It is librarian.
Yeah, and you can even put a jump pack on him. And he's now a jump pack librarian as well. He's got a number of different things. He's even got a Volkite pistol and quite a cool looking egg timer on his back as well. So yeah, an awesome model. I think definitely one to pick up.
The only part that I don't love is the sleeve and the way it's been painted. He's got this random sort of black area. I feel like I will be painting it so it doesn't have a very obvious solid black element to it.
Interesting. Well, that's meant to represent the hollow of the.
So it's just a flat.
Yeah, but that's because this is a resin mini, right? This isn't plastic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So right, because in plastic they would have followed that out.
Yeah, but I think you just need to paint it so it's not. It's been painted so that sort of black wasteland is really obvious, whereas I think I would like to see it painted so it's blended into everything else.
Interesting. I don't know how you go about doing that, but despite that, it's a lovely model. Well done, Lee, for calling it, because I would have never got that in a million years. Cool. And I think that's our roundup of Heresy Thursday, isn't it? I don't think there's anything beyond that.
Yeah, that's it.
So we have got a list review now. Alistair, who I know quite well because he's come on a course with me before. I know I also need to get a game in with him this month as well. He sent me some dates that we could get a game in. So it'd be good to have a look at his list review and see what
preempt what he's going to bring.
Yeah, Paul played him the other day. Who's Paul? And we're going to take a look at a potential list. So let's have a look at his email he sent us. So hey team, loving the show so far. I've been
just so people know, that's a very easy way of getting your list read out. If you tell us how great we are, we're much likely to go.
Yeah, we'll pick this one. Yeah, loving the show so far. I've been running Sons of Horus in a drop pod list since 2.0 landed, and it's been terrible in most games, apart from one game against Paul. To be fair, I designed it for 1.0, and 2.0 has been kind of drop assault or flyers and Scepter and Cap are brutal. What's Cap? What's CAP? What's that?
Close air patrol. That's the reaction, the flyer reaction.
I've got an event coming up and want to run a more 2.0 savvy black reaving list, but keeping a solid Sons of Horror brutal assault theme. Having listened to the Tactica, which you can find on Patreon, and Legion review episodes, I've come up with the attached. I'd be interested in your thoughts. Listeners, tack support squads to arrive in a Dreadclaw drop pod as part of a Deep Strike assault with all the Justarian and Abaddon. Seekers forward, I fluttered to deal with a vehicle or two. Recon Marines and Master Signal in the backfield to snipe stuff and act as spotters for the Scorpius twins. Alternative options would be drop one tack squad and the support squad and replace with a 10-man Reaver squad, 1 pair of Lightning Claws and 2 Power Fists deployed in the Dreadclaw pod. So he's taking a reaving list just talk us through, John, the reaving, right? So
I will, because I've now run my reaving.
So the reaving makes
makes reavers troops and gives them line.
Gives them line.
They become scoring troops. It also gives, the biggest thing is that not only do reavers become troops and have line, but if they're already engaged in, so if the target is already of a charge, already like in an assault already, or has been the subject of a charge that turn, then every unit gains furious charge.
Okay, so what we want to...
I've lied.
No, they gain rage too. They gain additional.
Yeah.
So and the other thing it gives is Justarian gain deep strike for it as well.
But also, if they're with a baton, they're going to get it anyway. So
cool. Okay. Well, we don't want to change the list too much because it means he has to buy a million things, but we will have a little tinker with it and see what's what. So this is quite a kind of Mechanicum style binary list, isn't it? This one. So we'll try and talk
to read Python to decipher the.
So what I'll do is I'll go through. I'll read it. And then, John, you give us your thoughts. Lee, you give us your thoughts, and then I shall give thoughts on it as well.
I cannot fucking stand the way this is set out because I'm already confused. That's my thought.
So we've got a Centurion with an Augury Scanner, Cognis Signum, Nuncio Vox, and a Vox Disruptor array. We've got Abaddon, and he will definitely be deep striking him. And he's coming with a Justarian squad as a command squad. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Justarian there, and we've got a kind of various options: lightning claws, pair of lightning claws. We've also got one with a Legion standard. My initial thoughts are any thunder hammers on that particular unit, but perhaps he doesn't have them. But if you can rip off an arm and put a thunder hammer in there, I think that'd be useful. Yeah. Let's have a look at the next.
Break off that heavy flamer and hurl it into a canal.
Yeah. So we've got a Contemptor Talon. So we've got Contemptor Dread, and it's got a Gravis Las Cannon and a Gravis Power Fist with a targeting array and a melter gun, and we've got exactly the same, like exactly kind of a repeat of those two. We've got 2 more Justarian Terminator squads, so really leveraging the deep strike on these. Wow, so basically they look identical. So lightning claw, chain fist, power fist, and then 2 times pair of lightning claws. And bear in mind, Justarian come with 3 attacks base, so that's a hell of a lot of attacks if you're throwing those against kind of already engaged models. In terms of the troop squad, so you got a recon squad with Nemesis bolters. Looks like a 5-man squad there. You got tac squad, and that's got a Nuncio Vox in a Rhino with his friendly bolter. We've got another tac squad without a Rhino, but with a Nuncio Vox and a couple of other upgrades like Artificer armor. We've got a Legion support squad with Volkite Chargers. That's a very interesting choice. Not seen that for a while. Let's have a look at our fast attack. So we've got a Dreadclaw drop pod with a Seeker squad in it. That's quite cool. So we've got the Melter combi weapons, and then the heavy sports we have 2 Scorpius squads. So he has really leveraged the Justarian deep striking and not gone for the Reavers being troops. There were no Reavers in that list. So John, what's your hot take on that?
Yeah,
without
I think
changing it completely.
Okay, I know. Fucking hell. Right.
We don't all have limitless armies or cash like you do, so we can't just sort of like swap and change things and like create new armies, right?
Says I'm only painting an army a week. Fucking hell. Okay. So the issue is the fact that the one thing that I would absolutely bin off as soon as possible was that fucking Dreadclaw, because it is terrible. Yeah. However, the Reaving requires you to have more fast attack slots than heavy support, or more fast attack choices. So to unlock those 2 Scorpios, we have to take 2 of something in the fast attack slot.
Okay, right. So that's
I take Javelin land speeders. In mine, as we've discussed on the show with Giles, the reason is because that they are there to just do a job, and that is to be the first charge to either soak up some Overwatch, but essentially they're there to proc the rage.
Yeah.
Can you go back, please, Lee, to the original, the previous page? So, okay. I do think that the Justarian armaments are a little strange and do feel a little bit 1.0-y. If we were to super optimize it, the double lightning claws, great. I've only got one with double lightning claws, but I think 2 is no problem whatsoever. They're like with most, I think like with most stuff in the Sons of Horus list, you want to use them as bully units. So you want to send these, like, I wouldn't send these guys in against, like, for instance, other Terminators. They want to go in against power armor.
Yeah.
And just rip them apart. You send Abaddon and his boys after the other Death Star, basically. But I think that the single lightning claw is a bit of an odd option. I think in an ideal world, you'd maybe change that to a Thunderhammer. The Dreadnoughts, I'd maybe consider giving one of them both the las cannons and one of them both the combat weapons. I'll tell you for why, because the two combat weapons and rage. Oh, do they get rage into the next? Come back to me on that one. I'm not sure if they. I think they do. I think it's any unit with Legion Started Sons of Horus gets rage. I think that the Dreadnought does. I played a game against Alex.
Despite that, though, I think you're probably on something there, John, which is that kind of.
We had an interesting conversation regarding Dreadnoughts the other day, didn't we? And
you lose quite a lot of attacks when you lose a second.
Yes. So we settled on, if you want gunboat dreads, go for a box dread. Yeah. If you want melee dreads, go for a contemptor. And if you want a mixed, like, kind of jack of all trades, can do a bit of everything, that's when you go for Leviathan.
Yeah.
And I think we are planning to do the tactical deep dive on Leviathans this month, correct, for the Patreon. So we'll go into that in some more detail and express our thoughts more over there. The recon squads are good. I've got recons in my list. I think they're really useful. I have no beef with the tactical Marines, if I'm being honest. You don't need all of those Nuncio boxes. You've got way too many Nuncio boxes in there. And I think, to be honest, if you're going to give any unit a Nuncio box, it should be the recon squad.
Yeah, I think he's proofing it again on the scatter, right? So he's proofing it for the scatter for the Scorpius and proofing it for the scatter for the just.
Yeah, but also as well, the Master of Signals has also got Nuncio box as well.
Yeah.
So you've got quite a lot of boxes in there. Like, I think probably 2 is going to give you all the coverage over a board you need, as long as you place them sensibly. Okay. If we go back to the first page, I would probably. So this is a really similar list to mine. Actually, that's a complete lie. Don't worry about it. It's actually going to be loads of Reapers and Javelins and no Scorpiuses. So I've told you a huge amount of porcupines there. But I too have Abaddon with a retinue. So I think ideally you would definitely get rid of that single lightning claw and you would replace that with a Thunderhammer. I think you probably want at least 2 Thunderhammers in this unit. If this unit is going to go and take on other Terminators, you want at least 2 Thunderhammers in it. And the Heavy Flamer, that needs to become a multi-melter.
Yeah.
So I would go for that guy. I would equip, and mine is equipped exactly the same, which is multi-melted Thunderhammer, and the guy with the single lightning claw would also go Thunderhammer.
Cool. How about yourself, Lee?
I feel like the fast attack is the main bit that needs changing. I feel like it's lacking in anti-tank. And I agree with either the Javelins or even some of the new plastic Sky Hunters we were just looking at a minute ago. I know they're not survivable in this edition because they're now just normal toughness. But if you're using them,
this list provides so much utility because they've got the ability to have. So mine are all. I've got 3 individual jabs in my list, and they've all got multi-melter and twin las.
Yeah.
So they can each target a different target, and then they can also then like attempt a charge in. And you don't really they're not necessarily there to actually get into combat. They're there to proc the has already been the target of a charge rule for the Justarian and the Reavers that are either deep striking or jumping out
Right.
leaders. And then, but if they do make it into combat, they've got hit and run.
The jet bikes have hit and run as well, don't they?
Don't think so.
Do they not?
No, don't think so.
But yeah,
Either
it
way.
needs something like that. I agree with what you're saying. I would definitely get rid of the Dreadclaw. And I just feel like the Seeker Squad isn't really doing a lot. Like they're massively fragile. They might kill a tank, but I just feel like they're not doing a lot. I'd rather replace that with, like you say, either the javelins or some jet bikes or something like that. That's going to provide some sort of mobile anti-tank.
What about the sort of sofa pattern jet bikes, or like Proteus? Sofa pattern land speeds, like Proteus land speeds.
Yeah, or some of them. Yeah.
Some plastic ones, like not going to cost you a fortune to pick up, and
the thing is, if they're going after tanks, the chances are they're not going to get reaction fired off the table. You know what I mean? So yeah, something like that is what I would be looking at.
Cool.
And yeah, Sky Hunters have hit and run.
Cool.
Oh, okay, cool, wonderful, excellent. Which case, yeah, you're really useful. But the problem is, it's not very survivable. Javelin.
That is the only trouble. But like I say, if
they're
going after tanks, then I feel like that. I feel like they're more survivable than a Seeker Squad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I without kind of adding too many things to the list, because I think the problem with but I think that you're right, John. Javelins would make this list really, really good. But I think the price point of javelins in terms of cash is just
unreal. It's fucking
so expensive.
If I wasn't already sitting on the that I have, like I would know where.
If I was just going to run this list as is, there probably the things I would just slightly tweak. So I would get rid of a few Nuncio Voxes, exactly as John said, and I would, with the points I've saved, I would buy a Rhino for the support squad, which is the kind of the Volkite Charger squad, because they need something to be able to get up, because they're only range 15, right? They're not the Calviers. They're quite short range, and they're quite cool. Like they're quite like I could see Sons of Horus taking them, but just buy a little Rhino for those. And I would keep the Dreadclaw drop pod, but I would put a Contemptor Dreadnought in it and have it come down with the 2 squads of Justarian. So you've almost got, when you're deep striking, your deep strike assault kind of thing, you've got a wave of Justarian, and then you'll hop out of your Dreadclaw, and then on the next turn you'll be able to charge, right?
That's just because it gives you next turn, because he does sit there with his fucking dick in his hand.
Yeah, so I think that's the other thing. You've got to accept that you've got to wait, but I think he gives you a second wave of quite heavy hitting stuff, and I think the Dreadclaw is doing something for you in a list that maybe it's not. And then you could alternatively, but the Seeker Squad needs a little Rhino, I think. Whatever, it just needs to be nipping around the board with those metal guns, because Seeker Swords are actually quite good, but they just need a little nippy Rhino. So 2 more Rhinos you need to get for this list. Try and save the points elsewhere. Put the Contemptor in the Dreadclaw, see what happens with it, and go from there. I'm conscious that you might not have magnetized the weapons on the Contemptors either. So I think that if you can do what John said, make 1 long range and 1 for close combat, that would be great. But if not, then don't worry. But yeah, give that a try. You got loads of food for thought on that one. A bit more coherent, I think, than we were for Ollie's one there. But in principle, really cool list. And I think the most important thing is it really fits that idea of kind of like that deep strike, Justarian coming down, Abaddon there, and the full might of the War Master like coming down as well, right? I think it's just really cool, and I think it's proper vengeful spirit style. So yeah, really, really cool. Right, I think that leads us nicely to have a break time, and then we shall come back and explore the Salamanders. Welcome back to our main segment of the show, where we are exploring the salamanders. Now, we have a long history with salamanders because we take the piss out of them constantly, and it all started where Paul completely forgot that he was doing salamanders for one of our shows. So the Legion missed out. But we did go back subsequently and did like a 2-minute video about the salamanders, right? But my initial thoughts just around the fluff of the salamanders is that in principle, I think that they are quite a cool legion and can be quite cool. But the whole dragon thing, I think it is similar to like the Space Wolves thing. Like the Space Wolves can just about pull it off. And I think Dan Abnett with Frostbro Burns really he leaned into the Viking element, and as a result, it really worked. He made it work. And I think for me, the Nick Kime, who's been given all of the Salamanders book, quite literally all of the Salamanders books, hasn't been able to pull off the same kind of stunt with the Salamanders to give them a really kind of like cool story that we saw similarly with the Space Wolves, because Space Marines I think are a bit like derpy, but he really made them work. And I think that Nick Khan hasn't, for me, done the most amazing job of the writing of the Salamanders, and certainly fleshing them out, because they've got a lot of books, like they've got a lot of single novels, Vulcan Lives, Deathfire. They've got a lot of words, within the Horus Heresy range, but it just doesn't. It's never really kind of the background hasn't really floated my boat before. The other thing I think, and I was thinking today, is that one of the most beloved legions, partly because they've got awesome stories, but the most beloved legions are often these legions that are quite complex legions. So the World Eaters, for example, you see that tragic fall from grace throughout the betrayer and the backstory that kind of Khan narrates within it. And the same with the Sons of Horus. You had the most noble of the legions, the best of the legions, and then they fall because of the actions of Erebus. With the Salamanders, I think that they're like the ultimate good guys, right? There doesn't seem to be too much complexity to the personality of this legion, and I think because of that, they've kind of I think that has for me made them a little bit uninteresting, because they're not particularly complex characters. They believe in all the good things that the Crusade that kind of stood for, and as a result, you just kind of like, yeah, okay, the Ultramarines also did that, but also the Ultramarines kind of were fueled quite a lot by vengeance because of Calth, and you got behind them because of the fact that they were fueled by vengeance, whereas the Salamanders are just constantly trying to do good. And I think perhaps they needed to make it a bit more of a complex story for that legion to maybe be interesting. What's your guys' thoughts behind the kind of like the fluff behind
them? I mean, I personally kind of agree with everything you've just said. I feel like they need some love. Like, I've never read half the books that you've just mentioned because I have no great interest in them, because it almost feels like they just don't really do a lot. Like they go running off to find Vulcan, and then that's kind of it, really. And
it becomes Vulcan's story after that, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it's about one dude, not about the remnants of the Legion. And I just feel like I can't get interested in it. I feel like they suffer on all fronts. I feel like they suffer from a lack of units in the game and style of gameplay, and I feel like they lack in the fluff from the books. And yeah, I just feel like, meh, I'm kind of like, and it's a shame because I think they look fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And I think they could be an interesting legion, because they are like the ultimate good guys, aren't they? But I still feel like that could be a good story, because there isn't really any other ultimate good guys in the whole story. Even the Ultramarines aren't particularly the good guys, are they? They fucking blew up a word-bearer city because Daddy told them to. So I just feel like they need properly fleshing out, and a bit of love is kind of
Unfortunately, it's sad because it's now a bit too late in terms of that library novels to go there. But John, what's your kind of take on the Salamanders? Because I don't think you've played Salamanders before, have you? With all the armies you've
They're one of the few legions that I've never dabbled with, and the reason is because I think that quite often I will sort of, there'll be a passage in a book, or there'll be some sort of notable battle that I can kind of draw inspiration for a narrative to flesh out a force. And I think if you kind of think about all of the kind of the real, like the kind of big hitting elements of the heresy, like, I mean, maybe less so Istvan 5, but like you think about like some of the really big conflicts, like it's kind of hard. Like you've got like Prospero, as you discussed, for the Wolves and the Thousand Sons. You've got Armatura, you've got Moloch, you've got the Siege, you know, and you've kind of got there's sort of some presence of a lot of like most of the legions there, and that kind of gives me something to kind of cling to. And I think one of the other things as well is you don't see that many. I think it's a little bit chicken and egg. Like you don't see that many inspiring legions out there in the wild from a miniatures perspective. I.e., there's not a lot of people out there that are painting salamanders. So I think that's sometimes is a bit. Yeah, you as in the royal you, in terms of viewers and listeners, you might have in your kind of like group chats or kind of like playing kind of like circle of kind of mates you play with. I don't know if you notice the same thing as we sometimes do, but kind of a lot of legions kind of go fits and spurts where like a couple of people get an idea for doing a legion at the same time, and then that will sort of perpetuate a couple of other people sort of coming along, and then you'll kind of post them up on Instagram and you'll get like some engagement, and then all of a sudden you'll start to see. I feel like at the moment I'm seeing loads and loads and loads of Sons of Horus armies.
Correct. Yeah.
And I don't know if that's because I'm looking for Sons of Horus armies, but I feel like at the moment I'm seeing, and like 6 months ago I felt like I was seeing loads and loads of Iron Warriors and Imperial Fist armies. I don't feel like I ever see Salamanders army.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think that it's quite a hard legion to paint. I think that particular green is somewhat difficult. And yeah, everything you guys said, I definitely agree with. I think the final thing about kind of like the literary point of view for me around particularly Vulcan is that the moment that you knew that he was a perpetual, and also that you know that he kind of appears in the Beast of Rise novels kind of a few thousand years later, not in the 40k narrative, but certainly in Beast of Rises, the problem that you've got with it is that you always know he's going to come back to life. So it's difficult to feel a kind of an empathetic connection with that character, because it's like, oh, he's dead, but I know he's going to come back to life. Whereas if you lost when you lost Ferris, it was a big deal because he couldn't come back. So from a literary point of view, I think that it's also been quite it's probably been quite hard for Nick Kime to make you feel empathetic towards that particular character, but I'm not convinced that they've been able to pull it off. I mean, the most recent book that Aaron Bowden's done, where sort of that Magnus constantly kills him and he comes back to life and comes back to life. It's like, well, no shit. Like, of course he is. That's the thing that we know about him. So I can almost skip these few chapters and kind of, I can guess what's going to happen. And I think that that's always going to be a problem when you make one of your Primarchs a perpetual. Anyway, that's the kind of narrative side. We're going to be talking about the rules mainly today, and how they've also been fucked over with some of their rules as well. But we will see what we can draw out. And then John has written us a really awesome 3K.
I'm not gonna lie, I fucking love my list. Like, if I had 20 Pyroclasts kicking around right now and I had the urge to build another Charybdis.
So he's going to give us a list at the end of it and then tell us how it is going to work as well. So sit back, do hobby, enjoy our faces, and let's take it away. Let's have a look at the next slide, please, Lee. So the Legion rule, Blood of Fire. So when rolling to wound against a model with this special rule for any attack inflicted by a flame, melter, plasma, or Volkite weapon or effect, reduce the result of that rule wound by -1. I read that and I was like, whoa, that's fucking awesome, because of the melter and the strength 8. So I was like, man, these guys are basically immune to instant death from melter. Apart from, this does not affect the strength of the attack, only the result of the roll to wound. So in fact, it does not affect kind of the strength of it. It's only the roll to wound. It doesn't do a trick like the Iron Hands, which I initially read and was like, whoa, this is really good. So it's only on the dice rolls, and I think that that being their Legion rule is somewhat disappointing. I think that if it had changed the strength of the weapon, I think that then it might be a different story, right? But
yes and no. See, I think as well. I think from a math hammer perspective, if you have a multi-wound model, and you're being wounded on 2s but not able to be instant death, or 3s, but you can be, I think actually you're statistically more likely to
go for the 3s. Interesting.
Being wounded on 3s, but instant death, as opposed to 2s and not.
I suppose it also depends on how many like melter attacks you might.
Yeah, the thing is, you don't see an awful lot. You do see quite a lot of melter and volkite, but you don't see an awful lot of plasma and flame weapons.
No,
so I think especially plasma, like you saw, plasma was just everywhere in the first edition, and this edition it is absolutely nowhere.
I mean, this is an interesting discussion. We could go into this quite a lot, but what would have been a better Legion rule for the Salamanders? Because I actually think, like, similar to Iron Hands, I think a similar, that kind of that -1 strength of them, I think is quite good. That resolve, for me, maybe some sort of leadership element, perhaps they're always stubborn all the time or something. But what for you guys would have been a better Legion rule for the Sallies?
I'd like to have seen them being cold-blooded. So for those who don't know,
they can only bask in the sun. That's it.
Yeah, basically, exactly. They have to.
No fight. They're fucked.
Yeah, precisely. They have to spend the hour before a battle just lying on a rock to warm up. But no, the old cold-blooded rule from Fantasy was you used to take all of your psychology tests on 3d6 and pick the 2 lowest.
Okay. Yeah.
So I think that would have been a nice way to introduce that, rather than stubborn. I think that'd be a nice way to introduce that. So all your pinning tests, all your leadership tests are all taken on 3d6 and picking the 2.
So that's similar to what the word bearers used to have, right? They always pick the lowest.
Or what Perturaba gives the Iron Warriors if he's in the list as well.
Interesting. How about yourself, Lee? What do you think would have been a better role?
I don't know whether it would have affected the army, but something, because they're kind of fluff as well, as that they can go into like hazardous areas that no one else can go. Like, so I don't know if it would have affected the army as much, but something around, they're not affected by dangerous terrain or
so something similar to the Death Guard,
something like that would fit in with their kind of Legion fluff of the fact that they can go into these fucking burning death worlds and they're absolutely fine with it. So, but then, like I say, I don't know if that would really have a massive effect on the way you would run these. I don't know, but something. I feel like they need something.
Well, despite the fact that we've come up with some awesome rules for them, we don't work for the Forge World writing team. So anyway, there is a secondary rule to this. So in addition, all models with this special rule that have more than 1 wound or hull point gain the It Will Not Die 6-up special rule. Now, in principle, that would have been really cool in the last edition, but because of the way that the wounds are allocated and you've got to take it from the guy who's already lost a wound, it then means that your It Will Not Die will only really work 9 times out of 10 on one guy, right? So your It Will Not Die will only come back on your turn, and you can only run it once for one guy. Sure, that might be really good on characters because you can swap in and out your wounds on characters, and that's absolutely fine. But it is limited now because of the way that wounds are allocated. Anybody want to kind of add to that, disagree with that? Or
I think if it had been the way it was in the previous edition, it would have been ridiculously overpowered. And so it would have been too strong. But I also think as well, you just need to build into it a little bit and just leverage like kind of mixed units where you've got multiple characters with multiple wounds. Where you're able to kind of cycle wounds around a little bit, because you are still able to do that in certain instances, like when you've got independent characters within other units as well. So,
Okay, that's some food for thought. So actually, maybe having if you've got a big squad, then you might have two characters rather than just one, so you can try and get some wins back. Okay, that's a really interesting thought, and also a whole point as well. So that the fact that you can get that on your tanks is not a bad thing, but it's you got to roll the hard six, right? So that's not always easy. Let's have a look at some of the other rules and things that they've got, please, Lee. So their advanced reaction. So blah blah blah. This can be made.
Christ, isn't a lot of words, isn't it? Jesus.
So,
Christ.
if the
It's a
enemy's
novel.
charge is successful, all models with the infantry unit type in the target unit gain a bonus of +1 to their weapon skill, strength, and attacks characteristics for the duration of that assault phase. However, once the combat that includes the unit that has made this reaction stated, all models involved have made their attacks and any morale checks required as part of that combat are fully resolved. Roll a d6 for each model remaining in the unit that made this reaction. For each dice that scores a 6 or more, interesting. The unit suffers one automatic wound against which no saves or damage mitigation rolls of any kind can be made. So that might be where you're kind of it will not die 6 up. Come in quite well. But basically, they get +1 weapon skill, +1 strength, and +1 attack for a kind of a combat where they get charged. That is pretty fucking good. That's a good reaction to have in that situation where you're about to get charged and you really need a unit to survive. That's really
so clutch.
Yeah, that's great. Like that's put down fire drakes, whatever the fuck it's called, and that could be really good. That will even make a bland unit really good as well.
Yeah.
So brilliant advanced reaction there. Let's have a look at the next slide, please, Lee. John, why don't you talk us through the loyalist only one, the weight of duty?
Oh, well, so it can only be selected by a warlord with the Loyalist Legions. A warlord with this trait and all models in any unit he has joined gain a bonus of +1 to their strength characteristic when locked in combat with an enemy unit that includes one or more models with any variant of the Fear special rule. Furthermore, this warlord and any models in the units he has joined composed entirely of models with the Salamanders right wall gain the Hatred trait special rule while the warlord is part of that unit. An army whose warlord has this warlord trait may not include Legion Destroyer Assault Squads, Legion Mortalis Destroyer Assault Squads, or Legion situated with the Moritat console upgrade that was of the Salamander special rule.
Right, okay.
That's cool. That's not often that you see kind of like limitations baked into warlord trait. I really quite like that.
No, but I think that they've done that in order to make things like power axes not instant death.
Yeah, so you can't just leverage it and
absolutely. Well, didn't their old Legion rule, wasn't it, that they just couldn't take
destroyers,
nasty stuff?
Yeah, couldn't take rad. They couldn't take phosphex, for instance, on their Leviathan dreadnoughts.
So interesting.
In addition, an army whose warlord has this trait may make an additional reaction during the opposing players' assault defense.
That's brilliant.
Yep.
But you need to leverage it on weapons that go off the user's strength, and some decent weapons don't do that nowadays, do they? Right. So, like, you just got to be careful about which weapons and which units that you use that on. But in principle, a unit with +1 strength is fucking brilliant.
Yep.
Yeah. Lee, why don't you take us through Promethean Will?
Indeed. A warlord with this trait and all models in any friendly unit composed entirely of models with the Legion as a starter's Salamanders special rule that is part of the same detachment gains a bonus of +1 to their leadership characteristic when making pinning tests to a maximum of 11 and reduce the effects of Fear special rule by 1. Note that this means the Fear 1 special rule has no effect on models granted this benefit, and negative modifiers conferred by other variants of the Fear special rule are reduced in effect by 1. An army whose warlord has this warlord trait may not include Legion Destroyer Assault Squads, Legion Mortalis Destroyer Squads, or Legion Centurions with the Moritat console upgrade that also have the Legion as a starter Salamander special rule. In addition, an army whose warlord has this trait may make an additional reaction during the opposing player's shooting phase, as long as the warlord has not been removed. So
everything we said about changing the Legion rule, they've baked it into a warlord trait, the generic warlord trait. +1 leadership is actually pretty good across the board in the same detachment. That's really, really good.
I think that's really good. Yeah,
especially when you consider night fight, consider fear 1, things like that. Absolutely, that will rescue a number of Salamanders players, I think. Again, exactly what you said, because there's no negatives on the Legion rules now. They've had to bake this into, as John said, into the warlord traits, and then it flips, right? So the traitors obviously can take those things, and I think that's a cool kind of like unlocking of those units if you want to take traitors out of Salamanders. So Redemption of Flames, a warlord with this trait and all models in a unit he has joined gain a bonus of +1 for all to wound rolls or armor pen rolls made for flame or Volkart weapons that are used by those units to make shooting attacks. And then they also get 1 in the assault phase. So you probably would be best to leverage that kind of unit with the pyroclasts. But there are there's some veteran units that we will talk about a little bit later that Lee's got from the exemplary battles unit that we could potentially use that one on as well, right?
Who is this aimed at? Because I did think, is it supposed to represent traitors? Because I don't recall there ever being any notion of Salamanders being anything other than complete and utter emperor worshipping goody two shoes.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's only Imperial Fists, I think, who have like no option to become a traitor. But I think the thing I really like about this is that because you are a traitor, you then can unlock the destroyers and things like that. And I would expect if somebody took this to be using a number of destroyer units in Aura Morita, right? Pretty cool. But I think that we'll go through the units, but I think that if we keep this in the back of our head about where we could leverage some of these, that would be cool as we go through. Right, let's have a look at the next thing, please, Lee. So the rights of war, we've talked about them in depth when we did the Allied detachment, and the fact that you can't use any of these in an Allied detachment because they require a secondary HQ. So the Covenant of Fire, Pyroclast squads, and Legion TAC support squads that include models with the Dragon Breath Flamers can be taken as troops and gain the line unit subtype. That is fucking amazing. Like Pyroclast and tactical sports squads gaining line. Bloody brilliant. Legion Predator squadrons, don't forget that they've got It Will Not Die as well. Composed entirely of models with only Dragon Breath cannons and Dragon Breath Heavy Flamers as weapons may be chosen as non-compulsory troops choices in attachment using its rights of war. So you could potentially have a squad of these and then 3 heavy support squads on top of that as well, but they've all got to have the Dragon Breath Flamer kind of upgrades. We'll go through those in a bit. It's not the best option, but it's certainly thematic for the Salamanders. Limitations: you may not make any deep strike assaults using this right of war. So, however, units from attachment using this right of war may be assigned to a subterranean assault or a flanking assault. Okay, so no deep striking. You may not include Legion Destroyer assault squads, Legion Mortalis Destroyer squads, or Legion Centurions with the more attack console upgrade. And a detachment using this right of war must include a Legion Centurion, a Legion Casfranci Centurion, or a Legion Tartarus Centurion with the Champion console upgrade as well. So if you wanted to take a generic warlord trait with the Salamanders and you decide to take Covenant of Fire, you still cannot take Destroyer squads or a Moritat, right? They are really like locking you down in terms of they do not want you to use that at all. My hot take on this is that the Covenant of Fire is a fucking fantastic right of war. It's absolutely brilliant. Yeah.
It is.
Flamer troops, I think, is absolutely fantastic. Lee, why don't you take us through the Awakening Fire?
Okay, effects. All models with both the infantry unit type and the Legion as a starter Salamanders in a unit selected as part of a detachment using this right of war may be given the Fear 1 special rule for plus 20 points per unit. Canal. All models with both the infantry unit type and the Legion as a starter Salamanders in a detachment using this right of war ignore all modifiers to their leadership when making pinning tests. All models in detachment using this right of war with the Psyche unit subtype may choose to have the Fury of the Salamander discipline instead of any other psychic discipline they could normally select. A detachment using this right of war gains a single additional non-compulsory HQ choice, which may only be used to select a Legion Centurion with the Chaplain console upgrade. And then limitations. Detachment using this rite of war may include no more than one unit composed of models with the cavalry unit type. This does not include Legion Apothecarian detachments or Legion Tech Marine Covenants that include models upgraded to have the cavalry unit type, and may not include any models with Legion Warhawk jump packs. A detachment using this rite of war must include at least one Legion Centurion with a Chaplain console upgrade, and then an army with detachment. In which detachment? Yeah, someone's going to have to read that. I can't see that.
Can't use Vulcan, basically.
Say again.
You're not allowed to use Vulcan in this rifle.
Okay.
So I read that and I was like, whoa, that's fucking awesome. You're going to have loads of shit deep striking and they'll be pinning at -1. And then you can't take any Warhawk jump packs in this list.
Yeah.
So you have to take Dreadclaws.
Yeah. Or you could take deep striking Javelin. Sorry, not Javelin. Yeah, Javelin bikes, right? Just fuck a ton of those.
Yeah.
But you can only take one cavalry.
Yeah.
Fuck me.
I feel like 20 points for fear is quite a lot.
Yeah.
I feel like it's almost just not worth it.
I think the Covenant Fire is the big winner.
Yeah.
I think also having to take this particular rite of war to gain access to the psychic tree is.
Oh, should we look at the psychic?
Really odd.
We might think differently after.
Yeah.
Well, John, talk us through the power for us, please.
Okay, so the Salamanders' Fury is their unique psychic power. So at the start of their own player turn, the controlling player of a psychic with this power may choose to make a psychic check. If the check is successful, all enemy units within 80 inches of the psychic treat all open terrain as difficult terrain, and all difficult terrain is both difficult and dangerous terrain until the start of the controlling player's next turn. However, the psychic may not move, may not make shooting attacks or charge in that turn. If the check is failed, the psychic suffers a perils. I think that is absolutely shite, personally, because who the hell is going to leave? So if you leave him out on his own, he's just a fucking guy, right? He's going to get absolutely mega murdered by something. If you put him in a unit, that unit then can't do anything. I think it's just garbage. Your own thoughts, please?
It's not great. I think you'd have to be very clever about where you would use this, because you're gonna find that you're in a massive area of difficult terrain, and it might be as inconvenient for you as it would be for your opponent. And in fact, because it goes off at the start of your player turn, it could well be. So I think you're gonna have to use it wisely. If there's somebody who's used this well, I think write in the comments below about how it can be best utilized, because I am not convinced by that psychic power.
No.
Yeah. I mean, the shooting bit doesn't bother me, but if he could move and charge, then I think this is suddenly very good. But it's the fact that you just have to keep him still.
Yeah. He has to get close, right?
Yeah.
He has to run up and then stand still.
Yeah. Yeah.
There are better psychic powers that are generic psychic
and
powers.
Also, as well, it's at the start of the turn, so he has to be in position to do it by the
correct.
end of the previous turn.
So he can't move up and do it. He has to do that in the previous turn.
And also, as we'll see, a lot of the weapons that you're going to take with Salamanders tend to be fairly short range. So you don't just want him sitting at the back of the table, not moving forward. It kind of, it doesn't make. If they just got rid of the move, to be honest, it would suddenly be better. But
yeah, even then, I think you'd have to use it quite wisely. But Well, let's have a look at the other weapon, though. Let's have the psychic weapon. Go for it, John.
So it's a template, a flame template. It's strength 7 AP4, which is not necessarily to be sniffed at. It's a short one. What it's doing is it has pinning, it has deflagrate, and it has shell shock 3. So he has to pass a psychic test before he can use it, but basically it's just it's there to pin. If you can take a wound, you're quite likely to pin someone in place because of the shell shock 3. But it does require you to both wound and so you've got to pass a psychic test, and then you've got to wound, and then they've got to fail their inevitable armor and feel no pains.
But do you want to talk about the psychic focus?
Psychic focus is basically he has to. So it's the same as every other psychic weapon. So he has to take a psychic test before making to hit rolls. It doesn't actually roll to hit. If the check is passed, he may attack as normal. If the check is failed, then the psychic has suffered parries to walk.
Oh right, so he has to get
just like every other psychic weapon and cyberthurgic weapon.
So right,
take a test before you can do it.
Yeah. I can see how that could be quite good in a deep strike. Deep striking kind of librarian comes in, but you can't. But only one unit can take a walk jump.
But also as well, like, if you've got a deep striking librarian, why not just take a telepathy one and then you can guarantee the pinning?
Yeah, that's a good point.
You can just guarantee to pin someone in place.
Yeah.
Or to stop them reacting. And that happens. You can do that power. The telepathy power can be done at any point.
Yeah.
As opposed to just in the shooting phase. So when they come down, you can pin them in place before they have a chance to react to you.
Yeah. So basically, this Rite of War is a bit of a waste, isn't it? You're gonna, if you want to take a Rite of War, take Covenant of Fire. I think is
correct. Put this one. Just tear that bit of the page out of your book. Just,
right. Let's have a look at the next part, please, Lee. So the armory of the Salamanders. So Artifice and Flame. Any model with the Salamanders special rule may exchange a heavy bolter for a Dragon Breath heavy flamer, or a twin linked heavy bolter for a twin linked Dragon Breath flamer for no additional cost. In addition, any model with both the Salamanders rule and a character unit subtype may add the Mastercrafter special rule to any one of their weapons. So it's a bit cheeky. I quite like that. I think that's all right. I quite like the fact you can just upgrade a heavy bolter. And I like the fact that you can give a character just Mastercrafted. I think that's pretty thematic. Dragon Breath Flamers are basically all the same, apart from they have +1 strength to what a Flamer would usually get. But they also use D6 hits when doing Wall of Death or snap firing instead of D3. In fact, it's just D6 for Wall of Death, isn't it, rather than snap firing? Yeah, interesting. Okay, cool.
I think the +1 strength is not to be sniffed at. Like strength 5 flamers is no joke. Like, really is no joke.
Especially when you can take them on your tactical support squads, which have line as well, right?
But they still have the support squad rules. You've got to bear that in mind. They still can't be compulsory units.
Yeah, no, they've got.
Does line remove?
Go back, Lee. Go back. Let's have a look. I think that they can be taken as troops. So Pyroclasts and Legion tactical squads that include any models with Dragon Breath Flames may be chosen as troops choice in a.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, no, you are right. I thought in my head it just made them scoring, but it does make them.
Yeah. So you can take them. So I think that's quite cool. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I've done a huge 180 on that immediately.
I think that these sitting on objectives, people are really gonna with the Dragon Breath Flamer.
If only they got Heart of the Legion as well, that would fucking make them even better.
Yeah, like each one of these with D6, you're gonna really think about charging these to get them off an objective, right? You're gonna have to shoot at them from a distance to be able to get them off the objective.
I think even just a Dragon Breath pistol on a fucking tac squad sergeant is
Lee. Yes.
You know what I mean?
Get 6, it's awesome. Yeah, brilliant. Dragon Breath Flamers are absolutely fantastic. The other thing to say about this is that the Dragon Breath cannon, which can be taken on a Predator, that you can get as a non-compulsory troop. So it's Strength 7, AP 4, Heavy 1, Torrent 18, and then it's D6 on the Wall of Death. So that's quite a lot of Flamer attacks on that. Strength 7, AP 4 is nothing to be sniffed at. Perhaps there's probably better Predators, but still, I think quite cool. Right, let's have a look.
The thing is with Predators with this though, ignoring Covenant of Fire, you can still guilt-free run the Melter Cannon Predator. Because it fits in with the theme, right?
Yeah. And then have two little heavy Dragon Breath heavy flames on the
exactly. You can run that, and that's going to be cool to look at. It's going to be fun to use, and you're not going to feel like a complete willy because it does fit in with your thing.
And if you charge it as well, it's going to hurt because they can Overwatch, right? Those
2d6.
Yeah, pretty good.
Right, let's have a look at the next one, please. So a storm shield. This is what it's all about. This is, although they've been fucked over on the Legion rule, they get some fucking good equipment. So any model with the independent character and Salamanders rule, but is not a unique character, may take a Dragon Storm Shield for 15 points. Any model with a Salamander special rule, Cataphractii, Legion Cataphractii, or Legion Task Force Terminator armor may exchange a Combi Bolter for a Dragon Storm Shield for 10 points each. So that means that your bog standard Task Force Terminators and Legion Cataphractii Terminators can have a +1 to their invulnerable save, which is pretty fucking good. For 10 points a model, that's great. So Dragon Storm Shield provides a 5+ invulnerable save but basically it's just +1, right? And you can't use two-handed weapons. So your Cataphractii Terminators become a 3-up invuln save, and your Tartarus Terminators become a 4-up invuln save. So Pride of the Legion list, I think it could be a great option if you are a Salamanders player and you can 3D print some Dragon Scale Storm Shields from either Gator 3D or Beowulf miniature printing. This one is what it's all about, though. A single Legion Praetor, Tartarus Praetor, or Cataphractii Praetor may take a Mantle of the Elder Drake for 35 points, and that gives you the Battle Hardened 1 special rule. Now, I think 35 points is actually quite a lot for Battle Hardened 1. However, I've seen Abaddon utilize that to great effect. So I think probably on balance,
so just lost Alex.
Yeah, it will save you from those power fist attacks.
Yeah.
But it's not going to make your Praetor completely fucking Sigismund kind of like level powered, right?
No,
so,
but stick him on a jet bike.
yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, that's really good. Yeah.
With a Mastercrafted Thunderhammer and a fucking Noel. Yeah, that's
Very
the way
cool.
to do it. Make him 400 points. Stick him on a jet bike.
Can you take a Dragon Scale Storm Shield on a?
I think you can, yeah.
On a, let's have a look. So both an independent character, Salamander Special does not have the you totally can, can't you? Yeah, you can stick him on a
Mastercrafted Thunderhammer and a shield with the Mantle of the Elder Drake on a jet bike. Just send it, mate.
Pretty good. So he's got a 3-up
breakdown range.
That's pretty good. He's got a 3-up. He's got Battle Hard on a 3-up invuln save on a bike. That's pretty cool. That's pretty. Yeah, that's ace. Yeah.
And it will not die.
And it will not die. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And you can put a Primus Medicae with that.
And nothing's going to be wounding him.
Re-roll the it will not die, right?
Yeah, and also nothing's going to be wounding him better than a 3-up if it's got Melter or like Volcar.
Oh, yeah, true.
Okay, that's it. Game. Well, there you go. All Salamanders players, go buy some fucking bikes. Like, this is the way.
Put some jet bikes immediately. We fixed your Legion for you.
So the best, I think, Primarch Sculpt. Next to the new Angron sculpt from GW, but I think this is the best one. I think this is.
Oh man.
Yeah, I think this is
big. Cool. It's good. It's good. All right, fine.
I can feel how people will feel differently. Right, let's have a look at its rules then, please, Lee.
You know, you've said that. I'm trying to think of what I think is better, and I'm actually really struggling to come with something that I think is.
I do
like the Alfarius skull.
Yeah, I think he encapsulates how Vulcan is. Looks like peak heresy. I think it's brilliant skull. Right, Vulcan. Primary for Salamanders, Regent of Nocturne, 465 points. He can be killed. Newsflash, he can be killed, despite the fact he's petrol. So he's got weapon skill 7. Yeah.
He can't be killed, mate, but he can be removed as a casualty.
Strength 7, toughness 7, wound 6, initiative 5, attack 6, leadership 10, and a 2-up save. So his war gear will obviously go through in a bit, but he has those all-important frag grenades so he can go through difficult terrain. He has, as well, Master of the Legion, of course, the Salamanders special rule, and the It Will Not Die 4-up. He is, of course, a loyalist, and he is a sire of the Salamanders. So, John, read us the sire of the Salamanders rule.
Yeah, because this is very important, because I think this is one of the best force multipliers that any Primarch provides.
Let's have a look. So we want this guy in the Primarch slot, and then we want a jet bike with command squad.
Annoyingly, though, the jet bike Praetor and command squad don't benefit from this rule.
Ah.
Because they're not infantry. Any model with both the unit infantry type and the Legionnaires starting Salamander special rule in the same army as Vulcan gain a stubborn special rule.
That's so good. That's so good.
In addition, you get an additional shooting phase reaction.
That's okay though, because with your command squad jet bike, they're going to have like fucking Legion 10 with a banner, right, or whatever.
Yeah, exactly, precisely so.
Perfect. That stubborn, fucking amazing, absolutely brilliant. That's so good. Let's have a look at the other bits and pieces. Why don't Lee? Why don't you talk through the Drakenscale, Dawnbreaker, and the Furnace's Heart?
So Drakenscale grants a 2+ armor save and a 3+ invulnerable save. In addition, Vulcan may reroll any failed armor saves for wounds inflicted by flame or Volkite weapons.
Pretty good.
So he can be killed, but he's pretty fucking.
He can be killed, just not by this.
Yeah. Dawnbringer, strength 10, AP 1, melee, mastercrafted, two-handed, armor bane, melee, instant death.
Yeah, that's all right. Not brutal, but it's all right.
And then the Furnace's Heart is range 18, strength 7, AP 2, pistol 1, lance, shock pulse, burst D6. And burst, if this weapon inflicts a hit, then instead of one hit, it inflicts a number of hits equal to the number in brackets.
Cool.
So you hit and then roll D6, it hits that many times.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough.
Pretty fucking good.
I think the fact that combining with toughness 7, is he toughness 7?
Yeah.
And then combined with the Legion rule, I think it's just going to be really tough to kill, isn't it? It's going to really survival. So, and then it will not die 4-up is just Trebian. So a really good, solid Primarch, and as John said, stubborn across the board, absolutely fantastic. Great. Include him in
the best force multipliers we've come across.
Yeah. So. Get him in there. Cool. Let's have a look at the Pyroclast. So these can be taken as troop choices in the Covenant of Fire. They are, they of course are quite pricey. Some of the OG four-draw sculpts, but I think they stood the test of time. I think
they look derpy as all hell.
You don't like them?
They're like, I feel like the paint job is doing these no favors in this picture.
Yeah, fair enough.
I really like these sculpts. If I was to do them, I'd do the flames as gold rather than a bright.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm with you. I can come with you on this journey, Lee.
I think that takes away the derpiness of it.
Yeah. Right, let's have a look at the rules. So they come base at 175 points, right? So they're for 5 guys, they're quite pricey, but they have kind of with the stats, they are fairly kind of like the veteran stats. Basically, they've got 2 wounds each, which is great. But they have a 2-up save. They just come with a 2-up save, which is great. You get 5 guys. And in terms of their war gear, they've got Pyroclast flame projectors. We'll talk about that in a bit. Bolt pistol and a basic close combat weapon. So their attacks will just be +1 attack whenever they go charging. They come with melter bombs as well as frag and crack grenades. The fact that you don't need to buy melter bombs for these guys is just brilliant. They have Mantle of Ash. We'll talk about that in a bit, and it will not die 5-up as well, which is brilliant. But again, it will not die 5-up is great, but because of the way the wounds are allocated now, you'll only be rolling that once any time. They can take a Land Raider or a Rhino as a dedicated
Land Raider as a dedicated transport is so fucking fit.
Yeah.
And they can take an additional Pyroclast of 30 points each. I think because they come up with a 2-up save, I think on balance they probably are worth it when we have a look at their weapons in a bit. But the Warden can be given a power weapon for 10 points, power fist for 20 points, or a Thunderhammer for 25 points. And remember, you can upgrade that to a Mastercrafted Thunderhammer for another 10 points. And then their flame projector. So when making a shooting attack, the entire unit must use its Pyroclast flame projector in the same firing mode. They can't mix and match between them. The controlling player must declare that at the start. Their weapons count as both melter and flame. Now, the dispersed is a template, strength 6, AP4, assault 1, dragon's breath. We will talk about what that does, but this is the mummer. This is it. The focus is range 12, strength 8, AP1, assault 1, Armor Bane Melter. So these guys are just fucking wielding basically melter guns, kind of just walking around. But when they get assaulted, they've got the Dragon Breath D6 Wall of Flame to kind of protect them as well. And finally, if that wasn't enough, they get a 5-up invuln save against Flame, Plasma, Melter, and Volkite weapons as well. So pretty good unit, I think. And I think made even better because they get line in Covenant of Fire. You start upgrading them, it's going to get a price unit. You got to protect them. You probably got to put them in a Proteus to protect them. But my gut is you wouldn't put all your eggs in one basket with a Covenant of Fire. You would just have these as your troops choices. You would have these and then 2 kind of tactical support squad.
Yeah, absolutely.
As your kind of redundancy scoring. But what's your gut on these? Lee, what's your thoughts on these?
I mean, they're fucking awesome, aren't they? But I do feel like you can very quickly make an army very small and very elite if you try running just these inland raiders, and it's just going to get its shit pushed in. Like, these are great, and they're survivable against flamers and plasmas and blah, 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 and they got the 2+, but they still only have a 4 weapon skill 4, they're still only infantry. They're going to die. I think you need to be sensible when you're making a list of how you're equipping these and how many you're taking. But yeah, I think they're fucking awesome. They've got to be one.
Actually, I said they were vet stats, but they're not, are they? Because they're weapon skill 4, and they have weapon skill 5, right? Okay, interesting. And John, like them, hot or not?
Well, we've all written a list that is a Cataphractii Praetor with a unit of what's the fucking Fire Drakes in a Proteus, and then 30 Pyroclasts in 3 Proteuses.
Yeah,
for 3,000 points. We've all written that list, right?
Yeah.
We've all sat there on the toilet having a nice big poo and written that list, yeah? This is fucking iconic, and it's something we'll come back to. And the fact of the matter is, like, Lee's right. Like, you can very easily make a very small army very quickly, but why not? Why not make it?
Not true.
I'm all for it. These guys are great. I do think, weirdly, being BS4 kind of lets them down a little bit. I like to see him being BS5. But having Artificer Armor as standard with 2 wounds, I think, is pretty good.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Right, let's have a look at the next one then, please.
These ones.
Drakes. So these were the bane of traitor players in the last edition.
I think these are cool sculpts.
Yeah, these are cool.
Perhaps it's because they've got golden flames.
I think it is.
I think so. Let's have a look at the rules then, please. And John, why don't you take us through the Fire Drake Terminators?
Happily. So they are standard, better Legion stats in that they are weapon skill 5 and Legion 9. 250 points gets you 5 guys. Why might that be? Well, the reason is because they're fucking hard as shit. So they in Cataphractii, and they come with a power weapon and a combi bolter as per standard, which doesn't sound that great up until you get to the special rules. So they are stubborn. They have Forge Craft of Nocturne, and they have It Will Not Die 5+, and they have Favoured Vulcan. Favoured Vulcan is your standard. If Vulcan's in the list, you can take him as a retinue. So, but it's when you come to...
They can't take a banner, I don't think.
They can't take a banner, so they're not as good as Just Aaron. Or...
other things that can take banners.
Terminators that can take banners.
Yeah.
That wasn't your computer didn't freeze just then. That was my brain that froze. It's reloaded. But when you come to the options, the options list is fucking wild. So they're 45 points each. Additionally, any model may exchange a power weapon for the following: a Thunderhammer, 10 points. You're gonna go on, Power Fist is 5 points, and a Chain Fist is 10 points. And any model may exchange a combi bolt for the following: a combi Flamer, which must be a combi Dragon's Breath. Oh, no, it can't, because it's not a normal Flamer. And a combi Melter, no joke. And the entire unit may exchange their combi bolters for Dragon Scale Storm Shields for 5 points a model.
Bargain.
Yeah,
What a bargain.
So they are going to be, because you are going to give them a Thunder Hammer and a Storm Shield. So they are going to be, you need to add an additional like 75 points. So they're 325 5 basically is how you need to think about this, because you're not going to not give them.
Yeah.
And Forgecraft of Nocturne, the controlling player of a model with this special rule may reroll all failed hit rolls of 1 made for weapons of the melee type. So they basically have hit hatred, everlasting hatred.
Yeah.
Why would you not give them a Thunder?
Yeah, these are really, really good. You could give them line through Pride of the Legion or adding a Herald with them, I think, but I think they've kind of forced you kind of not to because of the retinue and removing the option for the banner. But a great unit, and I think it's just a must take in any Salamanders force, right? I think these are just your go-to heavy hitters, especially with those Thunder Hammers as well. Cool. Let's have a look at the next unit then, please.
Oh, they can also take a Proteus or a Spartan as well.
Yeah. So those are the only 2 special units in the actual book. So they've got Vulcan and those 2. They've got no special characters in the Legion. It's a starter's book. We're now having to go to various PDFs to be able to give you a full list. And I think that if you're just playing from the book, it really feels like you haven't got quite as well-rounded Legion as perhaps some others. Again, I think I've said this before. My gut is that an ISFAM 5 campaign book is coming, and this will be fleshed out from here. That's my gut, but who knows when that will turn up? 2023, hopefully, but fingers crossed. So we've got Salamanders Adherence Squad. So they're 140 points. We've talked about these guys previously. These ain't half bad. So they have weapon skill 4. Whereas the rest of their stats are basically vet stats, but they're weapon skill 4. You get 5 in the unit. They come with a Dragon's Breath Combi Flamer, Bolt Pistol, Chainsword, and then your regular grenades as well. They can take a Legion Rhino transport or a Proteus as a dedicated transport as well. And they also have the Support Squad special role. The Support Squad is a bit of a... It would be great if these were troops, but the fact that you can just take them as non-compulsory troops is pretty good. But you're really taking them for the combi flamers. So additional guys are 20 points each. They can exchange their combi flamer for a Dragon's Breath heavy flamer, which is pretty cool. 1 in 5 guys can do that. Sergeant can take the Artificer armor, and then you can give your Sergeant various upgrades as well. And then the Sergeant can take Melter Bombs. You are really taking these guys for the Dragon Breath combi flamer, just to give your units additional kind of like a flame. They've got a couple of other rules. So at the start of it, so guided by prophecy, start of any assault phase, leadership test may be made for this unit by controlling power against leadership 7. And then if you pass that, you get feel no pain 6 up and then weapon skill 5. So they basically become veterans, which is pretty good. And then a Dragon's Breath Combi Flamer basically is strength 5, AP 4. That's not too shabby, is it? That's just basically like they're carrying a normal Legion heavy flamer around, right? I mean, that's
and
really,
you can
really
obviously
good.
fire both parts because it's a combi weapon.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool.
Guided by Prophecy is a really I really, really like that they've taken the time to sort of introduce some cool additional little things like, roll a dice, and if this happens, you get a cool little buff. I think that's a really nice way of adding a bit of flavour into it.
Yeah, I think it's great. I think it's a cool little unit.
They're boring you, Rob. These salamanders are really boring.
No, sorry. I think it's a cool unit. I think these could be really utilised well in a deep striking orbital assault list. So you have to think about a place to put these, but I think they're quite a thematic and fluffy kind of unit. So look at the next one.
I think we're into the legacy units now.
Right. Yeah. So Lee, why don't you talk us through Cassian Drakos Reborn?
So Cassian Drakos, 310 points, movement 6, weapon skill 5, ballistic skill 5, strength 6, toughness 6, wounds 5, initiative 4, attacks 4, leadership 10, and a 2+ save. He's Dreadnought.
So he has less wounds than a Contemptor Dreadnought.
Yes.
And the toughness is less.
And so is the strength.
And his movement is less.
Yeah, it's loads less, so he doesn't get the additional like modifiers to charge and stuff. The problem with this guy is the fact that he exists in the same legacy unit as Honored Telemachus.
Yeah.
The Ultramarines boy, who the Castian Dracos and Rhinonaut absolutely fucking bummed in this stupid.
Yeah. So is this is not a Contemptor model, right? This is the Forge World kind of like box
shoebox thread, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And this is they're giving him rules for this. Okay. So sorry to interrupt you. Sorry.
Quite all right.
300 points, calling him out around.
That's exactly what I was going to say. He's worse than a Contemptor, but he's about 100 points more. Like
he has no business being 310 points.
It's the classic legacy unit curse, isn't it? Really.
Why don't you read the special rules, Lee? Perhaps that will provide some salvation to his stat line.
It won't.
So he comes equipped with 2 power fists with dragon breath heavy flamers.
Cool.
Special rules are.
I like the fact that his additional combat attacks are already included in his profile as well.
Oh yeah, I didn't even realise that. Shit, bad. Oh fucking hell. So special rules: Avatar of the Sacred Flames, the Voice of the Machine, Loyalist, and Ferromantic Deflector. So let me just move this box. Avatar of the Sacred Flames. As long as no HQ choices other than fucking hell, Ziaphus Jur and Narek Draper are included in the same detachment, Cassian Dracos Reborn may be selected as the army's warlord. If selected as the army's warlord, Cassian Dracos must use the bloody-handed warlord trait. Voice of the Machine, Cassian Dracos. Do you reckon when they talk to him, they call him Cassian Dracos Reborn? I feel like it just gets a bit boring. Keep saying this. Wait, Cassian Dracos Reborn. As the Cyberthurgic Arcana Artificer Machina, C. Liber Mechanicum. I don't honestly know what that does.
Well, it doesn't matter because you're never ever going to take it.
That's true. Ferromantic Deflector.
Basically, it's the one that enables him to do stuff like take control of other people's tanks and shoot them at themselves.
Okay.
Please refer to. And then we've not actually recorded a Liber Mechanicum review, so don't worry about it.
And he's got 5+ in run save.
So he's incredibly expensive for what he does, isn't he? I mean, bottom line. And you can only take him as a warlord if Zyvastur and Narek Drake are in there as well. I certainly think if you are replaying Isfan 5, I think that you certainly might consider taking him. If you're thinking about playing any other type
Why would you take him at Isfan 5? Because wasn't he reborn after the events of Isfan 5?
Oh, yeah, you might be right. So you might consider taking him if you're fighting guerrilla war
6
post Isfan 5. He's a fucking dud. Don't take him. He's shit. That's the Heresy Hammer official line on Dracos Reborn.
Again, it's a shame. I like the fact that they've added in the Voice of the Machine, this Cyberthurgic Arcana. I quite like that. It's something you don't really see.
But you get a whole, I think, you could get a whole Mechanicum Allied detachment for 310.
Well, I mean, that's the trouble.
Yeah, exactly. You just take. I mean, you can literally get an Archmagos who is an absolute shit kicking, dick kicking, ball bag swallowing fuck bastard, or you can get this guy who is absolutely useless.
I mean, how much is a normal box dreadnought? 150,
120 points. Yeah.
It's literally the cost of 2 standard.
It's shit. Yeah. Cool. Let's have a look. Next unit.
Yeah, actually, before we move on, I need to make a point here. Actually, I need to get on my soapbox for just 1 second.
We'll let you.
What is the point of going to the time of creating all of these units, rewriting all the rules, just to make them so shit that nobody's ever going to utilize a single fucking one of them? Like that is the absolute. No, I'm not finished. That is the absolute antithesis of a waste of money. Like they've paid somebody. If someone has taken a month to do this, it's a month's salary to generate this. That nobody is using Nobody, especially the Salamanders ones, people probably haven't fucking read that far down. Like, what is going on here?
My hope is that these appear in a campaign that are decent. Like that basically they were just like, we are not, we couldn't give two fucks about what rules we give people, because we know that these rules are coming. We're going to come back to them at some point. We'll just write any old shit down, and we'll just see what's what. What worries me, if they play tested those fucking rules, that like the time and effort to play.
No one who has played this game has ever played with these units. Nobody who's written the rules for this has ever picked up a dice in their life. This is absolutely so stupid. Right, get on with it, Lee. I'm pissed off. Come on.
On a serious note, you take someone like Andy Kirk, who I believe is the only Salamanders player in the UK.
Correct.
And you look at his conversion that he's done for it. He's put so much fucking time and effort into that model just for them to make these shit rules. You kind of like, well, fucking hell, like just make it 250 points. Like, you know what I mean?
Make it 150 points.
I mean, yeah.
And even then, I still think we'd be going 50-50. At literally half the points cost.
These are units that some people already have, and they've just made them unplayable, and it's just fuck it for no reason. You know what I mean?
Let's see if Kaplan Nomus Raitan is also unplayable, because everybody used to take him before. So Nomus Raitan, he comes with weapon skill 5, ballistic skill 5. That was changed, so that
I was going to say
that fucking really worries me that he came with 4 and a 4 there. He's got 3 wounds, 4 attack, leadership 10, and a 2-up save. He's got all the fucking war gear, but the most important bits are he's got Combi Flamer, Dark Star Falling, grenades, an Iron Halo, and he's got Mantle of the Elder Drake as well. So he's got Battle Hardened 1. That ain't too fucking bad. He's got Master of the Legion, which is great. He's got Stubborn and Hatred Everything. So far, so fucking good. These are good for 215 points. Keeper of the Keys, any model with the Dreadnought unit type and the Legionist and the Salamander special rule within 6 inches of a warlord with this trait may add +2 to their charge distance. In addition,
don't worry. You can take him with Cash and Dracos Reborn, and then Cash and Dracos can charge the same distance as a normal fucking Contemptor.
Yeah. In addition,
that's how you combo it. That's how you make them good.
You get a extra shooting attack. +2 on charge distances for Dreads when they already get +1 is no fucking joke.
That's great.
That is
not all Dreads get +1, because obviously Cash and Dracos doesn't get that. Sorry.
And Dark Star Falling, it's +2 strength, so it's going in at strength 6. But remember that I'm sure there are like other rules that we talked about that give +1 if he's not the Warlord. I guess that could be the case, right? Because there are Warlord traits that give +1. He doesn't necessarily need to be the Warlord. So if you put him with a unit, you could be +3.
Yeah.
So Dark Star Falling, +2 strength, AP2, melee, 2-handed, unwieldy, and also along with that gets Hatred Everything as well. I think he's really survivable. I like the fact that he can be paired with Dreads, and I like the fact his fluff behind him is like he's the keeper of the keys of fucking Hogwarts or whatever. And I think that's pretty. I think he's a pretty cool character for 215 points. Not bad.
Yeah, he's keeper of the keys that starts on the Dreads.
Yeah.
Because I've never seen the keys. He's like, don't worry, I've got the keys. Let's get these Dreads on.
I think he's pretty good. I think that's good. That's nice.
I'm glad they changed his weapon skill and ballistic skill, because
fucking hell, yeah,
that's just fucking mental. But yeah, that's pretty good.
We don't know that they won't change from 6. To be fair,
I mean, this is true. I mean, we do know.
Yeah, they would have been 4. It's a shame that he hasn't got the guy that can go around with Dreadnoughts rule.
You mean the Iron Draker, but he'll be in the Iron Warriors thing.
Yeah, he should just toot around for the box Dreads. That'd be fun.
Yeah. Right, let's have a look at the next one, and John, you can talk us through Zyrus Jur.
Don't want to. It's going to be bad, isn't it? So he's like Mook stats. Weapon skill 5, BS 5. They settled on this quite early on, so they've not been changed.
Yeah.
Strength 4, toughness 4, 3 wounds, initiative 5, and 4 attacks. He's got a bolt pistol. What's he freaking do? He's got something called Ignatus. He's got a dragon scale shield. He's got a burning halo, not an iron halo. And he's got some grenades. And he is stubborn. He has hatred everything. He's also a psyker. He has the prophets of the flame, and he has the warlord trait, warlord beacon of hope.
That's some good rules for 145 points, I think.
100%. So the burning halo provides a 4+ invulnerable save and automatically hits D3 hits on the unit when making an Overwatch reaction, resolving its strength 4 with no AP.
So, but that becomes a 3-up.
Yeah, he has he has pyromancy, but he only counts having leadership 7 for the purpose of making.
Oh, that's so shit.
Half the time you're going to perils.
That's fucking shit. Yeah.
Not ideal.
No.
Beacon of Hope. So, as long as Zarfist Jer has not been removed from play, is in reserve or a box for a model with the transport type, a single friendly unit is comprised of models with the leader type Salamanders. Special rule may choose to use Zarfist Jer's unmodified leadership value instead of their own when making a morale. He's got. It's not very good, is it?
Sure.
Rubbish. They can use his leadership. That's a warlord trait now, is it?
Yep, it is now.
That's literally a warlord trait now. Would you like to?
And he doesn't gain an additional.
No. Would you like to row back on your statement that he's actually not that bad for 145 points, Rob?
I still
can you see land from where your statement was made?
I wouldn't take him as a warlord. I would take him as a normal character. I think he's all right, but not as a warlord.
And he has a power weapon that is strength +2, AP3, mastercrafted, and blind. That's quite fun, but
yeah,
time
not the best weapon. 145 points, and the fact he comes with hatred and can give a unit hatred as a result.
That's why you take him, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Yeah, I would take him in a Salamanders list, but I certainly wouldn't make him.
No, you make literally anybody else. Lee, you look absolutely just confused as fuck. What do you want to say?
I think 145 points. He's worth a punt, but yeah, he's certainly not as bad as the fucking first one we talked about. Reborn.
Cool. Okay. So some interesting characters there. Is there any more after that one, Lee?
I think that is it.
And this is the list. Right. John, talk us through your list.
Okay, so we are starting off strong with a delegatus.
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 Yeah.
Delegatus. He has a Thunderhammer, a Dragon's Breath hand flamer.
Solid choice.
Strong start. We have a Herald who has a Thunderhammer and a Dragon's Breath hand flamer.
I like it.
We have a Librarian in Terminator armor. Okay, so we have 7. So the elites are 7 pyroclasts. The Warden has got a Thunderhammer, and they are in a drop pod.
What? So we're doing orbital assault, are we?
We are doing an orbital assault salamanders.
Naughty.
So I thought to myself, everything. So the things we want to leverage in the Salamanders army are flamers, and multi-wound models.
Right.
So that was my thought process, because when they gain the It Will Not Die, and they can be up in people's grills, flaming stuff. So we've then got 7 pyroclasts. Warner's got a power maul. I'm not entirely sure why he has a power maul. I think that might have been my fat fingers and doing something interesting there. But they're all sort of
the power weapon to taste, right? Whatever people want to taste.
So they've both got apothecary in there as well, so to give them a bit more survivability. We've then got 8 fire drakes with storm shields, and we've got 4 thunderhammers, 3 power weapons, just points. And we've then got the Fire Master's got a Thunderhammer and a Storm Shield. The troops are Tactical Marines. The Tactical Sergeant has got Combi Flamers and Artificer Armor. They're in a drop pod, so we've got 3 identical units there.
Cool.
And then in the heavy slots, we've got a Leviathan pattern Siege Dreadnought with 2 claws with melt guns and 2 torso-mounted Dragon's Breath flamers in a Dreadnought drop pod. We then have a Charybdis, and we have Vulcan.
Ooh.
So the idea is that the entire lot turns up turn 1 because it's a drop pod assault. So it all comes in turn 1. Tough shit. That's when it all turns up. So the idea is that the whole lot lands in your fucking backfield, right? All gravy. You've then got the Vulcan rides, obviously, with the Fire Drakes and the Librarian in the Charybdis. So,
yeah.
First things first, you're going to fucking pop down. Boosh. It's going to be there. It's going to be them pinning everything in place, right? Because it's likely to be knights because it's the first turn. So this is where we're going to leverage some. So obviously all the drop pods all cause pinning. So basically you're going to be pinning everything in the list. Vulcan and the boys then leap out of the Charybdis. So they cause fear. So now it's going to be fear and it's nighttime. And you know what the Charybdis does, doesn't it? It has like a 360-degree arc of missiles that also cause pinning.
Cause pinning, don't they? Yeah.
And then if you're still not concerned enough stuff being pinned, you've then got a telepathy librarian that will also pin it in place. And what is more terrifying than having a fucking Primarch and one of the toughest combat units in your lines? I'll tell you, it's having that in your lines in turn 1. So
savage. So if you don't want your opponent moving or playing, then you could take this list, basically.
Yeah, absolutely.
This
so
is
the idea is, when have you ever even heard of a Salamanders drop pod assault list? Right?
I have not.
I'm going to take Covenant of Fire and Pyre.
But it's very ISFAM 5, right? It's so ISFAM 5.
So everything just comes down. And then everything gets out, and then everything flames everything, and then Vulcan and the boys go in and fucking starts clonking you over the head with hammers.
What would be, if you get the first turn, would your preference be to make your opponent go first?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Absolutely.
Woo! It's a great list. Really cool list.
Now think about how cool, right? Okay. We say that green is difficult. Think about a bright green Charybdis. Just think about it in your head. Picture it in your mind's eye. Do it right now. Everyone stop what they're doing. Look up. Picture it.
A bright green basketball landing in
Absolutely, yeah. Like a fucking mango just being plonked on the table.
I like it a lot. I think it's brilliant. I think it's really good, really inventive, and because you usually see Fire Drakes in a Spartan and they're in a basketball.
Now you're seeing Fire Drakes in a Charybdis, which, let me tell you, is much more terrifying than being in a Spartan. I genuinely think, I say that with a little bit tongue in cheek, but at the same time, I don't jest. I genuinely think the Charybdis is the most underutilized model in the game at the moment. I think people are still afraid of the cost, and they are afraid of building one. I'll tell you for that, because I own one for my World Eaters, and building and painting it has been awful.
Yeah.
But it is such an unreal delivery mechanism, especially combined with like leveraging the fact that it's got a huge footprint. So when it comes out, it's going to cause loads of pinning tests, and then the boys jump out and it fires its missiles, and they're going to cause loads of pinning tests. And this is all whilst, like, I think most people have got the facilities to deal with a Charybdis, but have you got the facilities to deal with a Charybdis and a Leviathan in a pod, and the 3 Tat Squads in pods, and the lots of Pyroclasts?
Yeah, Pyroclast are no joke as well, I think.
Pyroclast in a drop pod. I mean, because like normally your delivery mechanism is likely to be a land raider because it's survivable. Nobody's going to put them in a rhino because it's just too easy a target to kill, right? But putting them in who is going to waste an interceptor reaction shooting at them when they need to kill the fucking Charybdis that's got Vulcan and the boys in it, right?
Yeah.
And it's a 35 points, and they're going to be right up in your shit. Turn 1.
Brilliant. Well done. I think it's great. So we look forward to seeing this list destroying armies at a Heresy Hammer event soon.
Please let me know how it goes. All those people that have got a Salamanders Charybdis and drop pods out there, please let me know how you've been getting
on. So my kind of, after going through this, I think that Salamanders, as John has shown, can be quite interesting. They've got some really hard as nails. They've got 2 hard as nail units, and two quite really good characters, Nomus Raitan and Vulcan himself. Hopefully, we'll see it expanded out because it's not. I just don't think it's very fleshed out at the moment in the way that it needs to be. So hopefully, we shall see more as 2023 kind of continues. There's not much more I have to say, really. I don't think they're the best legions. By far and away, they're not the best legion. And I really get the sense that if you love Salamanders, you really love them, right? Like if you play
you love them. They're a legion that you can love.
Yeah.
But just very few people do.
Yeah. They're not hard as nails, but they're bringing flame to your opponents. Lee, what's your kind of take on Salamanders now that we've done this then?
Pretty much what I said at the start, to be honest. I still feel like
great. So it's been a rocket waste of 2 hours, 20 minutes.
I still just feel like they need a bit of love. I feel like they need something. I don't know. It's
more units, more characters,
I think they need more characters or units, either or really.
We'll take anything at this point
would be better than fuck all. I mean, I find it interesting that their Legion trait is it will not die, and then pretty much all the units you are almost guaranteed to take all come with a better it will not die. So it kind of negates half of their Legion trait from the fucking very beginning, really.
Yeah, and we haven't talked too much about leveraging a Primus Medicae. So a Primus Medicae can re-roll the it will not die, but I just think it's limited use because of the way that wounds are put on models now. I think it's just a bit like, it sounds great, but it's just like, I suppose if it can get back a model, then I suppose it's made the points back.
Yeah. But I really like them. I do like them. I know we bash them, but I do like them. I think the models are great. I love the color scheme. I think the units they've got are fucking really good. I don't know. I just feel like they need something. I don't know. I just feel like the biggest kind of fluff we get is from the old black books that aren't even available anymore. Because the Black Library books, most people haven't read because all I ever hear about them is they're a bit shit.
Yeah. Fair play. John, what final thoughts on Salamanders?
If anyone's got a Charybdis they don't want anymore, just as long as it's built.
Excellent. That's John's hot take. So and that kind of rounds out our show. Should we go to the kind of the final part? So
the admin
Roll of Honor. You can see it has is ever expanding our Patreon Roll of Honor. We have, as of this evening, while we're recording, 76 patrons who have joined us on our Heresy Hammer journey. So thank you ever so much, guys. We really, really appreciate it. If you are watching this either for the first time or have been watching it, don't forget that we do 2 Tactica episodes a month. Each one is usually about an hour long.
We put fucking far too much effort into
that. For £3 a month, you can get even more heresy goodness. And the ones we did last month, me and Lee did the Flyers, and we did the Librarians one. And the Librarians one, I think, was particularly interesting.
It was a good episode. We're doing Leviathan Dreadnoughts, I believe.
That's right. Yeah. We've got lots of opinions about this because we all run Leviathans in some way, shape, or form, and John's just painting out 1 or 2. So join us for that one this week. But we have various different layers of Patreon goodness. So make sure you head over to that. I should put a link in the description and the comments below. So without further ado, our Roll of Honor. So Thomas Silverstone, John McArdle, Nicola Frisk, Tom Hayward, Richard Willis, Edgar Pavlotsky, Dale Menmuir, Randy Overland, Tom Spear, Ollie Muse, Paul Walmsley, Matthew Lloyd, David Walker, Gore Crow, Shankly, Ben Ide, Mike Dorset Wolf, Cody Silverstone, Pete Day, Ashley Bowley, Peter King, Alex Robinson, New Aurora Painting, Harry, Mark Ainsworth, Chris Levitt, that guy, Lazar, Walter Cook, the fourth incarnation that is, Ben Robinson, Neil Atherton,
Salamander,
Street, Bradley Stutz, Simon Whitehouse, Alistair McGill, Chthonic Waterpiece, Hammer and Nails 40k, Kerry Love, Dale Barrett, Julien, and Sagon Sadler. And I will say for Walter as well, we had our prize draw, our kind of trimesterly prize draw for our console to be painted by one of the three of us. John was selected by himself. He rolled the dice and got selected, and we'll be painting up something Death Guardy for Walter Cook. So remember that if you want to join us to potentially win a console painted by one of us three, then you can join this month to be entered in for. Is it this month? It is this month, right? So it starts again in February.
Yes, this starts again in February. So be
and then, so if you're already part of that Patreon level, you're absolutely fine. Don't do anything. But if you want to join us and potentially win a console and get back the money that you've put in, right, then join the.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I think get back the money and then some.
And then some. Yeah, the time.
Yeah,
the time
and look, I need to make a point because it shows just how strong my moral compass is, because I rolled that dice off camera, so I could have, and Lee wasn't there, so I could have really fucking
we could have screwed him over it.
But no, I will be looking forward to painting a Death Guard, one of the new Death Guard Praetors for Walter as part of his Patreon winnings.
Yeah, absolutely awesome. So he's definitely, he's absolutely made back his, and he's got a swag bag coming as well. So he's definitely made back his money from us. So make sure that you join us on the Patreon, and let's see the rest of the show out. Thank you ever so much to our Roll of Honor. So you can put up your hobby goodness on #HeresyHammer. Make sure you use it. Some amazing stuff on there. Make sure you follow that hashtag if you don't already. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share. So it's great for the algorithm if you comment. It's great if you share it, and we really like it if you subscribe. And don't forget to like the video as well if you enjoy.
All of these things are free. Like, you're not going to do anything. Like, I know we feel the Patreon constantly because we have to keep robbing protein powder. But like,
but this one's free. Why are you going to review? Like, just share it on Instagram. No problem. Share it on Facebook. If you have a list that you want us to semi kind of explore and give you kind of good ideas
if you want a shopping list, then email list to
for like 500 quid. Then send us a list. I tell you what would be really useful actually. If you send us a list of what you're thinking, and then any additional units that you actually own, that would be most useful for us, because then we won't make you spend £500 on Javelin.
We will. We won't use any of the units.
We'll just say they're all shit.
You use collateral, so put all that stuff on eBay and spend.
That's a good idea. That's good idea. So any units that you have painted or on the pile of shame, then let us know those, and then we'll see what we can work with. Like Ready Steady Cook, Ready Steady Heresy. And then finally, the Patreon, final shout out for it. We have 76 patrons, an ever growing community that we are just have been overwhelmed by. Considering me and John, when we first had initial discussion, said 20 by Christmas. We're now 2 months after that, and we're on 76. So an ever growing community.
5 weeks. It's mental.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Thank you so much, everyone. When we get to 100, we'll do something super special. A console shit. Probably involve Lee and Rob having a fight or something.
I think so. Yeah,
that'd be great.
So thank you ever so much, and please have a look at the Patreon if you are not subscribed to it. And that's it from us. That's it for this episode. We've got another one coming this month. We'll keep you in suspense about that one, but we hope you enjoyed it for the 4 Salamanders players who ended up watching it. So anyway, it's goodbye for me. Take care, guys, and
goodbye, team. Be good
on the next one. Take care.